So most people lose sales deals because they're making deposits when they should be making withdrawals. So let me explain what that means.
Welcome to the Master Dealmaker's Secrets podcast. And now, here's sales growth strategist, John Blake.
Welcome to Master Dealmaker's Secrets. I'm John Blake. This is episode 250. And today we're going to talk about why you should be extracting, not depositing on your sales calls. So I think this will be really, really useful because it highlights the biggest problem that I notice, that I coach people on when I listen to their sales recordings, when I am identifying how I can best help. This is the number one problem. So I think this will be really helpful if you are in sales, if you are coaching salespeople, even if you've been in sales for a long time. There is often a tendency to drift back to the scenario that we're going to be talking about. So most people lose sales deals because they're making deposits when they should be making withdrawals. So let me explain what that means. If you've ever been on a sales call where you feel like you explained everything perfectly, answered all their questions, showed them the solution, and they still said, "Let me think about it," this is probably why. What happens in most sales calls is the prospect mentions a problem, and often it's early in the conversation. So this might happen in the first 5 minutes, right? So in the first 5 minutes, the person that you're talking to identifies a problem, and you immediately jump in with how you can fix it. It feels like it's the right thing for you to be doing because you are showing your expertise, but in actuality, it is the single worst thing you can do. And the reason why is that if you deposit information too early, you cut off the flow of what you actually need to know to be able to make a powerful recommendation, but you also cut off the flow of information from the person that you're talking to. So the three biggest mistakes that I see constantly is talking when you should be listening. So your prospect says, "Oh, we're struggling, for example, with lead generation." You hear that and immediately start explaining about your lead generation system. But you just killed the conversation. You don't know why they're struggling. You don't know what they've already tried. You don't know if this is actually their biggest problem. You don't know if it is a big enough problem that's causing enough drama that actually warrants them investing in a solution for that. So it's a big mistake. Showing your expertise too early is sometimes a symptom of you actually really knowing your stuff. Sometimes it can be a symptom of, well, I know what they're going to say, so I'm just going to tell them and I'll save time. And that's another big mistake, because you're in one respect, you're asking question because you want to know what the answer is, but in another respect, in fact, a more important respect, you're asking those questions because you want the person to articulate for themselves and to themselves the problem. I heard recently that anything that comes out of your mouth is a lie, right? Anything that you say is a lie. Anything that they say is the truth, right? So every single thing that comes out of your mouth is a lie. And I know that's not true, but it's a good mindset to have. It's like, okay, I just need to create an environment for this person to articulate their problem and do it in a way that uncovers a big enough reason, a big enough amount of motivation for me to be able to help them. So the reason that you do it is because you know your stuff, and that's great. You've got good product knowledge. So when a prospect asks a question, you give them the full technical breakdown. But it is actually more about your ego than providing them with a solution too early. And and really finding out what they actually need. You're talking too early at the expense of finding out what they actually need. Do they have a need? Do they want to make a change? Are they motivated? Is there a big enough business case for actually doing that? And the third mistake is product presentation before discovery. So we talk about making a blind offer. And this really is this is where I'll think about it, I'll get back to you. This is where all that lives, right? You're making a blind offer. You start talking about your product. The prospect stops telling you about their problem and stops telling you that their truth, because now they're evaluating your problem instead of thinking about their problem, right? Sorry, now they're evaluating your product instead of thinking about their problem. And you want them thinking about their problem 60 to 70% of the call before you actually insert your particular solution. So timing is incredibly important. Most people, and I'm sure that you fit into this category as well, are great at articulating what it is that they do. They're great at articulating their product. They have great product knowledge. I'm sure that's no different for you. But timing is so important. And the syntax of when you talk about your product is also incredibly important. So if you say the right thing at the wrong time, the meaning changes completely. So the extraction method is really flipping the entire approach. Your job is for the first half, is to really just extract and not deposit. So part one is discipline questioning. So ask questions, say, at least for the first 10 minutes. If you're talking about your product or your business within the first 10 minutes, then you are in trouble. You have got your likelihood of converting that particular inquiry into a paying client goes through the toilet. So ask questions, take notes, dig deeper. When they give you a surface answer, pause, let the silence work for you, and then ask, can you tell me more about that? What happens if you do nothing? What's changed that makes this an important thing for us to be discussing right now? You're not being interrogative. You're just being curious about their actual situation. Part two, which is between say 10 to 15 minutes. Don't stop at the first answer. Keep digging until you hit one of the 5 core motivators, and that is impact on family, finances, fitness, freedom, flexibility. The cost of inaction. The cost of doing nothing needs to become greater than the investment in your particular product or service for them to actually go ahead. That is where that is when the actual sale takes place. It's when the cost of doing nothing, as it relates to family, fitness, finances, freedom, and flexibility, becomes greater than the investment in your particular product or service. So an example, I used to work with a client that sold an investment product, a share trading an investment product. Client says, I want to learn how to trade. So the next question is, okay, what makes you want to learn how to trade now? Any particular the reason that you're choosing to do this now? I want to manage my retirement better. Okay, great. So what would that give you? That'll give me peace of mind. Okay, and what would peace of mind mean for you? I'd feel independent. I wouldn't be relying on anyone else, right? Now we've chunked up. We've got these higher level type motivations, which means that the person's way more likely to go ahead because we've taken it from education to a higher level value, which is peace of mind and independence. So that's the real motivation, not trading, not learning how to trade. It's actually independence. So reverse selling. So between, say, minutes 15 and 20, once you understand their motivation, argue for the status quo. So what's to stop you just keeping doing what you're doing? This forces them to justify why they need to change. You're arguing for the status quo. They're now starting to sell you on why they need to actually change, but they're really selling themselves. So if they can't answer that strongly, then they're not ready to buy. So you probably need to either spend more time talking about their motivation or move on. So the discipline, really extraction over deposits, is literally biting your tongue. It's when you hear something that you know that your product or service can fix, it's biting your tongue and asking the next question. And the best way to make sure that you can come back to it is to write it down. Write it down and put a circle or an asterisk around it. It's confronting because it goes against every instinct. Most salespeople are taught product knowledge. So you know about your particular product or service. You literally have it kind of rammed down your throat to a certain extent. And when we know things, the ego says, well, we want to talk about the things that we know. So it's really, really important to get good at this. If you want systematic training on how to fix this, on discipline discovery, check the info page on my website. It's called the Sales Team Diagnostic. It's very easy to find at John Blake. Well, it's actually www.john-blake.com.au. And that it'll work specifically for people who are selling a service, so trades and construction. It'll help you to stop chasing deals, that were never real. It'll mean that your follow-up will be so much more effective because you'll be following up on deals that are worth pursuing because you've properly qualified them. So when you master this, deals will close faster because you're addressing their real motivation, not the surface problem. Objections will disappear because you've actually pre-handled them, which is the best situation to be in. I talk about a lot of objection handling because the best way to handle an objection is actually to cover it off before you actually get to the point where you make your offer. That's what the best sales processes do. They cover off on all the potential reasons why someone won't want to go ahead before you actually make your offer. And that way it goes from being a blind offer to an actual offer that has the highest likelihood of converting. So your close rate will go up because you're only presenting to people who have already convinced themselves that they need to change. And the best sales calls are the ones where you barely talk about your product. So the next sales call you're on, try this. Don't mention your product at all until at least the 15-minute mark. Take notes and pause strategically before asking each question. Keep asking why until you hit one of the 5 core motivators. Then reverse sell. Why not keep doing what you're doing? You'll know exactly if it is a real deal or not within 20 minutes, and you will save yourself a truckload of time. So as always, thank you very much for listening, and I will talk to you on the next podcast. Cheers.
You've been listening to Master Dealmaker Secrets with John Blake. Subscribe to get more in-depth strategies and maximize your sales process with new episodes every other week. And double your inquiry to sale conversion with the lead flow you already have. Go to johnblakeaudio.com for his exclusive, free, no fluff audio training and companion PDF guide.